today from pillow talk to VP. We have a lot more coming right up. Welcome to Black Spring on your Monday. Hope everybody is doing well. I'd like to do a shout out to the loyal patrons as well as you, the subscribers. Shout out to Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, Definition of Anarchy, Angel's Army, the former Angel Munez Variety Show, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, Let the Truth Be Told, and Cold War Jesus, and an extra special shout out to AZ Infidel. Thank you guys so much for all you do and all your support, and for taking that special care as you come in to join me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. If you could keep in mind those thumbs up, thumbs down. Also keep in mind that you want to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, as well as be sure that if you want to throw some caution to the wind, then that's always an option for you as well by sharing out the stream. So thank you guys so much for coming in. And my, oh my, do we have quite a bit to get to today. Thank you guys so much for everybody that was able to join me on yesterday's live stream, as well as those of you, you actually picked up an additional stream for the announcement of the VP. So thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate everything you do. And thanks so much. Shout out to you, Derek C. Williams, for sharing the stream out. Thank you so much for throwing that caution to the wind. And we are staying in the fight around here. So taking care with those channelytics goes a long way. Shout out to Let the Truth Be Told. And shout out to Luciano. And I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. So, the pile-on, I'm going to say, is going to be very real for a candidate like Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris, depending on where you're from. It's going to be very real. So with that said, we're going to have quite a few stories coming to you today. And we're going to have, it looks like she got some words of wisdom from Willie Brown. And we will go into that story a little bit, as well as we have a couple of heckler performances. It's actually here, believe it or not. The microphone's here. I'm just I'm just a little bit behind, playing around with some new hacks here on the show, but it's definitely all the tools are here. So I will continue. Let's see. We'll go ahead with it right now. Thank you guys so much. Everything's here. So if you can hear me, let me know. If you can't, let me know, because I will make some adjustments as we go throughout this stream. Shout out to everybody that made it in. Thank you guys so much. If you could give me a 1. If you could give me a 1 if you can hear this much better at this time, or if it's gotten worse. I will have to make some adjustments throughout because I'm still working out some of the technical stuff here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So we are going to, we're going to prime our way into a frame for Kamala Harris. Thank you so much. Let the Truth Be Told. Thank you so much. Shout out to Old Head Deuce for coming in. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. I really appreciate it. And so as I was saying, we're going to prime our way into this Kamala Harris saga. And which we're going to come from a couple. We're going to come. Unfortunately, what happens on the left is that many things that they say and things that they do have a tendency to come back. It comes back, or they just think, she thinks either you have no idea what maybe her oath of office is, or, things that she has said or attacks that she's launched at other people, or either she thinks nobody else knows how to get a hold of that information, or maybe she just doesn't know that you have access to that information. So we're going to do shout out to Old Head Dude's rant forthcoming. Well, I can, it's possible. C'est possible. There will be, there will be slightly a rant, just slightly. A shout out to AZ Infidel. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you. I really appreciate everything that you do. And thanks so much for everybody for coming in. So what we're going to do is, there's so much to get to on this saga. The frame is wide, and it's, you have to try to you have to be efficient when framing up this candidate. She's got she has a huge profile. Let's just put it there. So where we're going to start is, this stream is actually entitled Pillow Talk, and that's going to be in reference to her relationship, or her associations with Willie Brown. So I'm going to take you to that clip. I shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And what I actually have, it's going to be an article that we're going to just take a quick look at, and I'll get into it really quickly here. So everybody's doing well on your Wednesday. It is. Hope you're doing well on your Wednesday. And we'll just get right into it here. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for taking care with those channelytics. It always helps out around here. So with that said, there's also a letter or another statement from ranging from 700 to about 700 women out there. So, the wagons were circling around Joe Biden. And so, they just decided they were going to go with Kamala. And I'm just thinking, out of all the candidates, out of all of the Democratic primary candidates, she wasn't quite strong, and her platform, she wasn't very strong. And I think many people found her to be a bit less than authentic. And so you'll start to see some of that, and you'll start to see some of the personality. Shout out to Let the Truth Be Told. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you there. Once again, hope everybody's doing well on your Monday. I mean, not Monday, Wednesday. Get the right day. Get the right day. So let's go ahead and have a blast from Kamala's past, if you don't mind. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Let's see. Okay. Because, I think this is going to be a huge, I think that these debates are going to be most entertaining. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be more than entertaining, or what? I mean, just thinking like the defense is going to be amazing, right? So we're going to go with this. It's going to come from the National Review. We'll start with the Pillow Talk first. And, what is the saying? How's it go? I'm going to paraphrase this because I'm not quite sure the originator of this phrase. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much for coming in. So let's go to the article. Okay, so in this article, it looks like her her former associate, or some may call him her former lover, Willie Brown. This comes from the National Review. Now, this was published on the 10th, and see, this is the part of the irony here is the amount of events and the amount of, I guess, the amount of activity that has gone on. You had this letter of 100 Black men making a case or issuing their warnings or threats to Joe Biden about selecting a Black woman. And then you also had a letter from the female side of the tracks saying, write us into history. We'll get into that just a little bit. But here you have, oh, good, Willie Brown has career advice for Kamala Harris. Okay. So this is written by Jim Garrity. This was written on the 10th. So it looks like somebody got an earful over the weekend, whether it was Joe Biden or whether it was the DNC. It's, broker convention type things. I think Rona McDaniel of the RNC kind of warned about, that type of activity in the, that was her hypothesis, which I think is pretty damn good. So let's go ahead and dig in here. It says right now, Kamala Harris. Now this was written on the 10th, and today's the 12th, of course. But Kamala Harris is on the verge of what could be a life-altering and historic moment. Okay, some people in Joe Biden's circle think his running mate options are down to Harris and Susan Rice. As many noted, with Biden's current lead in the national polls and swing states and the widespread expectation that Biden would not finish his first term, Biden may well be selecting the 47th president of the United States. Now, let that soak in. Okay, the 47th president of the United States. A few people whose presidential campaign ended before the first primary end up with such a fortuitous turn of events. And then the former San Francisco mayor, Willie Brown, takes to the pages of his hometown newspaper to declare, quote, if Joe Biden offers the vice presidential slot to Senator Kamala Harris, my advice to her would be to politely decline. Basically, no one takes the vice president seriously after election day, end quote. Okay, it goes on to say almost every political junkie has heard of the stories of Harris's affair with Brown back in the 1990s and how he appointed her to 2 state boards during their relationship. By itself, that's unlikely to determine Biden's running mate selection or the 2020 presidential election. But Harris would no doubt prefer if Willie Brown simply disappeared for the next few months or maybe forever, rather than intermittently popping up in public and weighing in on her career choices, and in the process reminding the world of their special relationship when she was in her 30s and he was in his 60s and married. All right. It says quite a bit about Brown that he doesn't have the sense to simply shut up on the topic of Kamala Harris, and writes these columns as if he's just another retired mayor writing about just another California senator. Okay. So there you had some advice, from Willie Brown, and that's why I gave it, I kind of coined it, a pillow talk, whether she wanted, that's not the kind of pillow talk you want to hear. Maybe that could lead to a bit of contention, there, but who knows, it's a very interesting political climate that we are dealing with. And, Kamala's going to have a lot of fires to put out. It's a landmine. It's a trail. It's a long trail. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Shout out to the rapper 10,000. Thank you guys so much. I apologize for that. That's in the stream there. So shout out to you guys. And Garrett Reed, thank you so much. And Chrysler and Pierce says, I'm sure if you dig deep enough, You'll find skeletons in her closets. Well, I think you won't be short on that. So with that said, I want to get to something else. There's all these other things. I don't have to work very hard to frame anything up because it's already there. It's kind of a pre-made kit, or what do you want to call it? It's actually a gift to President Trump's campaign and to his campaign managers. I mean, they're not going to have to dig that deep. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do whatever they need to do strategically, but it's all there. Okay. And so without further ado, I will take you to the next segment. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming in and taking care with your channelytics. We're staying in the fight around here. We're staying in the fight. So what I would like to do next is I would like to give you a little bit more context. I gave you the letter yesterday in a bit of a flash stream. The letter in which you had this 100 quote leaders, which, I beg to differ on that. But we also had, apparently on Friday, nearly 700 Black women from sectors including tech, entertainment, fashion, music, the faith community, and politics signed an open letter decrying the emerging negative tropes and narratives against some Black women vice presidential candidates, declaring, quote, regardless of your political affiliation, whether it's the media, members of the vice presidential vetting committee, a former governor, a top political donor, or a small town mayor, we are not your Aunt Jemimas. Okay. It was signed, quote, concerned Black women leaders, end quote. And the list has now grown to over 1,700 names. Now, what I'm going to take this opportunity to do is I'm going to open up this letter, give you a little bit of primer on that, and then I'll give you a little bit of the blowback and the response that's coming out of none other than Maxine Waters. And see, this is about to be some kind of exercise or in plantation management. They know, I think they know it best. I mean, it's in their history. I mean, what can they do? But I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a sample on this letter in which you have this letter. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. The rapper 10,000. I have heard that. I've heard many things, but I've heard so many things. I can't really, I can't quite get my finger on the pulse, because that's what I'm saying. There's so many things, but unfortunately, you have people that are going to vote for here. The logic is anybody but Trump. Now work with that. And that includes people from the Black community. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden does. It doesn't matter that Kamala, it's the Stockholm syndrome that I've been talking about. It doesn't matter. It's easier to not, it's easier not to challenge. And they genuinely think that, that party has a real affinity for them. No matter how communist their tactics are or how many lives are lost, you've got people out there that are just much more. You got people that are still pretty demoralized. And I'm not sure if waking up is within their reach. So with that said, let's have a look at this letter, or another statement. I'm not going to read all the names like I did yesterday, but we will at least read the letter. So shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Welcome in to this segment. All right. Hope you guys are doing well. All right. So here we have what you see before you comes from the 19th. Okay. This is an organization, We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan newsroom reporting on gender, politics, and policy. Okay, so before you see Black women insist that Biden, quote, write us into history. All right. So with that said, this is these a set of interviews with a dozen strategists, activists, and voters reveal that many now believe selecting a Black woman to be the vice presidential candidate is a requirement, not a recommendation. So here again, you have the same ilk. I'm giving this to you from the female perspective, and I will tell you what I think about. I'll give you my summation on this later because, I don't want to burn too many minutes on this story, but there's a lot more to it than, of course, than's going to come out in the mainstream media and how this whole thing shaped up. It's, my bigger question was, am I going to be topsy-turvy and start from the lowlights or go to the highlights or go from the highlights to the lowlights? Tough decisions, right? All right. So this is coming from Aaron Haynes. Last week began with the racial and gendered attacks against some of the Black women that Joe Biden could choose as his running mate, a decision he is expected to announce in the coming days. That criticism combined with the news Friday night that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a white woman, had met with Biden to discuss the possibility of joining him on the ticket, was met with anger and frustration by many Black women strategists, activists, organizers, and voters who have reached a point where they believe choosing a Black woman vice presidential nominee is no longer a recommendation, but a requirement. All right, so quote, the backlash is very real and it will be felt all across this country, end quote, said Democratic strategist Karen Finney. Quote, Black women are sick and tired of being considered the backbone of the Democratic Party. We want to be recognized as leaders. We want all the things we're due, end quote. I got to give it to them. At least they started with, they're keeping it in the family, Yeah, but see there again, you're saying you're the backbone. You're asserting that you're the backbone of the party, but they owe you something. You have an entitlement attitude even amongst your own party. So why aren't you getting it? Why, if you're not getting it there, why not consider making a change? Okay, if your grievances, how often have the Black community's grievances been met with honest governance, or how often, or measures? But instead you're met with demoralization, but it's within. That's what I talk about, the cannibal culture. Okay, this thing is even primed. They said, we are not your Aunt Jemima. And to me, that's the cancel culture. Okay, why would you use Aunt Jemima? But there again, that's actually the way that they believe they are perceived amongst their own party, but yet they choose to stay and beg the oppressor for you. Not only are you begging you're begging your oppressor for more mobility, but you're also you're also begging the rest of the country, but you're alienating the people in the country at the same time. So, I'll keep going here. I won't make this too painful, but thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So yeah, I'm going to get through this one really quickly here. All right. So interviews with the Black women across the country reveal an evolving discussion about the vice presidency, which began during the primary and has taken on outsized importance in an already consequential election. Okay. So here we go. In early March, when Senator Elizabeth Warren's path to the White House looked like it might be ending, women began calling for presumptive Democratic nominee, which appeared at the time to be Biden or Senator Bernie Sanders, to select a woman, particularly a woman of color. Near the end of March, Biden announced that he would choose a woman as his running mate if it became the nominee. Since then, rumors have swirled about who Biden could choose as his vice presidential nominee among the Black women who have been reported at the top or near the top of the list are Senator Kamala Harris of California, former National Secretary Advisor Susan Rice, Congressional Black Caucus Chairwoman Karen Bass, all bring different strengths and lived experiences to the role. Quote, my position is that each of these candidates named is highly qualified, said that Jonetta B. Cole, president and chairwoman of the National Council of Negro Women. So, this goes on and on and on. But I want to get to generally you have a swath of women coming out of these liberal, the NAACP, Jotaka Edie, former senior advisor for the NAACP and an ex-Silicon Valley executive who was one of the conveners of the letter, said she and others have been watching the process unfold for months and have seen both the growing desire for a Black woman on the ticket and the growing concern around how the potential pick is being discussed. Okay. So you kind of get a little bit of context as to what this letter is, what the letter includes. And of course, Elizabeth Warren had her own issues. Of course, Amy Klobuchar had her own issues, and they were all pretty weak candidates. So I will give you a statement from this particular letter, and I will move on. Well, actually, I'm going to give you a little bit more. So as a 2020 presidential candidate, Black women saw Warren as a, quote, paying attention, that she is learning and that she's listening and that she is movable when she doesn't understand something, end quote, said the Democratic strategist and former Warren campaign staffer, Alicia Johnson, who doesn't have a position on who Biden should choose. Quote, they have seen her use her privilege as a white woman to fight for things that are just right, Johnson said, adding that Warren could help to bolster support among young Black progressives. Still, without a Black woman on the ticket, Biden would need other strategies to galvanize Black women at the polls, not just bringing themselves, but their churches, sororities, and salons, Johnson said. Quote, it puts Black women in a really tough position for advocating and going that extra mile to advocate to get people out to vote who have been disenfranchised, who don't see their political interest reflected, to overcome voter suppression and COVID-19, end quote, she said. Quote, we need help convincing the people that we alone are responsible for. Still, the lived experiences of the Black women in the running, coupled with their impressive credentials, make them uniquely qualified for both this role and this moment in American politics, said Cole. In making her point, she paraphrased an African proverb about women making the impossible possible. Quote, when Black women lead, streams run uphill, end quote. If this does not happen, I will personally feel profoundly disappointed, end quote, Cole said. Quote, it does not happen every day to have such a defining moment, end quote. For all the controversy surrounding the decision, the Democratic Representative Maxine Waters said she is not nervous about Biden's choice and is convinced he will choose an African-American woman given their impact and standing in the party. Quote, I don't think it can be ignored, and I don't think it will be at all, end quote, Waters said, adding that the unconventional process has contributed to its chaotic and competitive nature. Quote, it identified any number of women it could possibly be and became a contest, end quote, Waters explained. Quote, when it becomes a contest, people will do what they think is necessary to win, end quote. So there you go. All right. So that's giving you a little bit of a context on this particular story. However, I don't think it's enough to, I don't think the color code is going to work. I really don't. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thanks so much. Let the truth be told. I really appreciate it. I read a couple of comments here. It says, why don't Black women just prove they are leadership material by their attitude than the stereotypical Black mammy role? Yeah, I'm struggling with that myself. But from that point, I want to say that, all this talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I thought I might let you listen to a clip, and I'm going to give you my summation on that particular letter and what I think it translates to. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I'm going to take you to that clip, soundbite here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you guys so much for taking care. Thank you so much for taking care with those channelytics. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you to a clip right now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Being VP, we're going to have a black woman. Take a look.
I do believe that they think he will be better than this president, much better, that he has certainly committed on the progressive side. We know that we're going to have a black woman who is going to be the vice president. And we still have people saying, well, he didn't say that. He said a woman. Let me guarantee you this. Based on everything that I know and understand, and the help that he's already gotten from the Black community with what Jim Clyburn has done. Jim Clyburn, and when he hears about this, he's gonna laugh. He can't go home without a Black woman being VP.
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that burns. I'm not sure what you feel about that, but I'm going to give you my summation on that. And it's just the irony of all of this. So basically, what Maxine Waters, I'm just thinking, if I just go back in time and just from a community standpoint, that sounds like is he searching for a date, or is he taking somebody home for the holidays, Joe Biden, or I submit, is this the bigot can't return to the plantation without the, as the rapper so eloquently said, that the term mammy, it's just, but it's a topsy-turvy view. It's like, if from the plantation of it, I mean, Joe Biden should be calling the shots, right? But he's not. Actually, this is my other take on this. This is the feminist driving. I get a sense that this is the feminists that are driving not only this woman of color campaign, but woman having to be chosen. Okay. So, we've talked about how in the past, there's been this constant struggle in the feminist culture or ideology that they, that they've been relegated. So instead, they've put all these other things in front of their struggle. But now they see an opportunity with this entire this VP presidential candidate campaign to seize or seize some power or reshape this country or this world into their vision. Okay. So, and obviously, the 100 black males who claim to be leaders, they support the effemination of young black males. They obviously they support abortion probably on demand. They obviously support BLM. I mean, that's my take on that. They're standing in solidarity, but they can't muster. They themselves cannot stand up to these women. These 100 black men that supported this situation, or that was strong arming the DNC or whomever the feminists are behind this. They can't stand in solidarity for any other community values, whether it's family, whether it's education, whether it's responsibility, whether it's individual or self-autonomy, but they can stand in solidarity for more demoralization and more destabilization of their community. I'm telling you, to me, it's worse than Stockholm syndrome. It really is. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thank you guys so much for coming in. But it's absolutely disgusting. It's what it is. That they are such worshipers of their skin color and the government that they need to beg the oppressor for an affirmative action position, or they need to be in front of this feminist driven campaign. Now, we've talked about before about their struggle. The struggle is the same. You know, they've been the feminist ideology and their campaign. They've been struggling for years. You know, they went from making coffee and making copies and making coffee to, oh, now we can, you know, this is our chance. This is our last opportunity. I mean, of course, think about it. Hillary Clinton didn't win. She was trying to break the glass ceiling. And now it's absolutely the opposite. You went from Barack Obama with a similar template in terms of, you know, whether you want to talk about lineage or heritage, to now you have a woman on the opposite side. She's going to be the rage. She's going to be the rage of the revolution this time. Shout out to Battery Addiction. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Shout out to Ben Dover. Thank you so much for coming in. I haven't seen you here before, Ben Dover, but I appreciate you for coming in. Thank you so much. So yeah, but you know what? It's going to be interesting. These debates are going to be. I would say, I mean, and no offense to VP Pence, but he better start lifting some weights, because this VP is absolutely vicious. And I think President Trump made a comment about her being nasty. So, you know, she's going to have that's going to be on full display during these debates. So you better eat his Wheaties, eat some spinach or whatever. I don't know what it is. Are you going to get eaten alive? That's where I can see some give there. And not to say that Pence is not strong when it comes to policy or following through, but, you know, the demeanor is, you know, these are two totally different personalities. Because, I mean, Kamala, to me, she honors no rules of engagement. She just wants to win. You heard Maxine Waters. They just want to win. So there's going to be some low blows. You know, get it together. Trump, I'm not really concerned about what he's just going to be. He's going to be Trump. He's going to be Trump, full on Trump style. But Pence needs to, he might want to, you know, he might want to drop a few euphemisms on this one, because it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be a soft glove debate. And with that said, I'm going to take you guys to another clip. You guys might remember this. You know, it's like, take a trip down memory lane. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Man, this is a mound of, I'm telling you, this is I was trying to prime this out, but it's totally fully loaded. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope you guys are doing well on your Wednesday, and that it is shaping up to be what you want it to be. So we're going to take you there right now. Thank you guys so much. You might remember this.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you guys. The rapper, no, I don't. I might take a look and see if I can't locate that. I mean, gosh, he has said so many things. And what happens is in a situation like this is that, of course, because Joe Biden is an older man and he's obviously suffering from some level of decline, whether it be mentally, they're going to go. Well, I can't say, I'm not saying that the Trump campaign is going to go soft on him, but I think that a lot of that's going to be another cause of dismissal. They will look past. He will be given a pass for everything. My thing is if he's been given a pass on everything that's come up already, then I think the chances of him not being given a pass, it's not going to. I don't think a pass is he's not going to be passless for anything that's revealed. So, there you go. I mean, I wish I could find it. I mean, I might try here, but I'm going to keep going here for a second and we'll see what comes up. But yeah, so of course, Tulsi Gabbard was absolutely she was on fire during those primaries. And you could see Kamala, you could see her fuming, she's like, she's like a volcano, when Tulsi is basically laying her garbage out on the line or putting all of her skeletons out. Thanks so much for tuning in. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Battery Addiction says Biden picking Kamala has put me in a great mood. Crazy Chick Sheena says, remember, he said Obama was a clean black. Yeah. Pretty clean. You're not fully clean unless you're Biden fully clean, right? Is that how this works? I don't know. I'm just asking. Just asking. And Ben Dover says, we ain't black if we don't vote for the man whose heritage owned slaves. Really? Right. Shout out to you, Ben Dover. Thank you so much for coming in. That's a great avatar, by the way. Love that. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. And thank you guys for taking care in the fight on the Channelytics, hitting that like or dislike or daring to throw the caution to the wind. Shout out to Derek C. Williams for doing that, as well as shout out to everybody in the stream for coming in and making sure you're still subscribed. That keeps us in the fight as well. So I appreciate everything. Thank you guys so much. So we'll move on. Like I said, this thing, I think piling on, it's as much as I don't want to pile on to the whole Kamala past and all these things, it's going to be hard not to, because I think, I would imagine that they're going to preserve some really great digs for these debates. I would imagine that that's going to happen as well. So I'll do what I can around here, not to overdo it. Oh, shout out to Battery Addiction. I appreciate you guys so much for being here and showing your support. And actually, there's going to be some videos coming out today. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos and maybe even a full series. I think I'm going to try to cover the debates. I think maybe September 29th, maybe between September 29th. So you got to keep all these things in mind during this topsy-turvy climate and election cycle, if you will. So we'll move on to the next section. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. All right, so it looks like we got a little bit of action here for the survival. Still campaign season. We do what we can around.
This time, I'd like to give a
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a clip with you. I will be sharing a clip with you from, got some acceptance speech. So we've got some action here for some of the acceptances that have happened here. We'll start with Kamala Harris. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
To give a special thank you for Vice President Mike Pence for coming to the great state of Arizona to accept this endorsement. Mr. Vice President, could you please come out?
All right, guys, this is Mike. This is on the opposite side of the aisle. Sorry about that, wrong clip, but we'll keep going no matter. We'll keep going here. Heckler, once a heckler, always a heckler, right? Here we go.
Thank you for Vice President Mike Pence for coming to the great state of Arizona to accept this endorsement. Mr. Vice President, could you please come out?
Well, hello, Arizona.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there, you have, there you go. You have a bit of heckler action happening there. And, it's not surprising, we'll get some more heckler action. I'm thinking we'll probably be much shorter on, we may not have any more rallies, so we just have to, people will have to get their digs in wherever we're available, I guess. Shouting, and of course, shouting BLM. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So we're going to keep going. All right, so I just thought I might break this up a little bit. It gets a little bit heavy. We'll just do a slight break in the Kamala frame, and we'll take you to something that might look a little bit strange. Maybe a little Orwellian for you. For those of you that are familiar with George Orwell's 1984, this might look familiar. So let's just have a look here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So what you have here before you, we don't actually have any audio on this, but can you imagine? This comes from a Thai. This photo comes from Thai students encased in plexiglass as schools reopened following the COVID-19 lockdown. Now, this is here, schools impose Orwellian COVID restrictions on elementary school students. Now, I'm not sure what you guys think about that. Not sure what the fate of your children looks like for the fall, but I don't think you would want to see this type of image. As you can see, these children are wearing masks and they are enclosed. This is Thailand, apparently. So, we talk about kids in the, the left always says kids in cages, right? Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Really appreciate it. So there you have that. I think there's actually quite a few more in this actual. So we might take a look at this one. We might log in here and see what else is behind these photos. But, I think the Capitol Hill, they're doing the grandstanding for 10 minutes each right about now on the stimulus funding and packages, and who knows. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So we'll see if that will load up for us. If not, we will move on. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys for coming in today. What you saw there was a bit of a children in cages and wearing masks. So I'm not sure what that looks like for you guys for the fall, but it was definitely no less disturbing. Shout out to you guys. All right. So then with that said, let's go on to Dems losing on school reopenings. Now, this is going to come from the Federalist. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. All right, so this one comes from the Federalist. I'm going to share this article with you guys. Hope you're doing well. So we'll see what the issue is. All right, so according to the Federalist, this one is entitled Back to School, Why Democrats Have Started to Cave on Reopening Schools. All right, so this is written by Joy Pullman. It says prominent Democrat politicians have started making huge concessions on reopening schools. Now, back in May, Democrats pounced after President Trump supported reopening, despite the data finding precisely the opposite. It quickly became the Democrat media complex line that opening schools this fall would be preposterously dangerous to children and teachers. In July, when New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio unveiled a plan to put the city's 1.1 million school kids back in schools half the week and, quote, online learning, in quote, the rest of the week, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo picked a public fight with him, saying, quote, if anybody sat here today and told you that they could reopen the school in September, that would be reckless and negligent of that person, end quote. Okay, then on Friday, Cuomo cleared schools to open this fall just a few weeks after making uncertain noises about the prospect as teachers' unions breathed down his neck. That same day, New York Senator Chuck Schumer, the senator's minority leader, joined the Democrat messaging reversal. So let's have a little bit of that from Chuck Schumer.
Well, thank you. Whoops, sorry. Thank you very much, Speaker, once again for your strong, passionate, and eloquent leadership. Let me just say, we saw the jobs report, and it's clear the economy is losing steam. That means we need big, bold investments in America to help average folks. And when the economy starts losing ground, the only choice is for a strong package. And yet, at times yesterday, our Republican friends seem willing to walk away from the negotiating table to do an unworkable, weak, and narrow executive orders, which are not going to do the job for the American people. We are committed to negotiating. And as we said, we are willing to make compromises. Our bill, the Heroes bill, is at 3.4, theirs is at 1. So the speaker made a very fair offer. Let's narrow it each. And you should have seen the vehemence. No, I said, you mean after she said, we'll go down $1 trillion, you go up $1 trillion. We didn't specify where or when, and it's mainly in terms of dates, but that's okay. And you should have seen their faces. Absolutely not. I said, you mean you want it to go almost all in your direction, or you won't negotiate? And they said, yeah. So we are trying to compromise. The spin that they're putting it on that we haven't moved off is belied by what happened. They're the ones stuck, and they say basically what's happening is Mr. Meadows is from the Tea Party. You have 20 Republicans in the Senate greatly influenced by them, and they don't want to spend the necessary dollars to help get America out of this mess. Ideology sort of blinds them. So we need a bill. There are only really two choices for our Republican negotiating friends. They can do a strong bill with Democrats, and they have to realize they're going to need a majority. They're going to need all the Democrats to vote for it in the House and a majority of Democrats to vote for it in the Senate. They don't have the votes in the Senate. So that means they've got to meet us in terms of moving. They can't just say no and do it our way. Or their other choice is to do some weak, insufficient executive orders that just won't do the job for the people we all want to help. It's not that the executive orders might be negative, but they're totally insufficient. They're insufficient in two ways. What they do is difficult because it seems, and no one knows what they're going to do, but they can't spend money, they can only forward money. So if you do a payroll tax cut, then after it expires, both businesses and workers have a huge payment to make. You do unemployment and you lend the states money, they're stuck. They don't have the money. They may not want to do it. In terms of tenants, yeah, delaying evictions is necessary, but not sufficient. Because once the delay is over, the tenant owes a tremendous amount of money. And by the way, the landlord, many of whom are small little landlords, haven't gotten paid, and they can't pay their mortgages and their bills. And there's a fourth one. And the college loans, again, is deferral. So you don't pay for a few months, and then you have more to pay. It is much better, and our colleagues admitted that yesterday, to do a strong, robust bill, but they seem unable. But the biggest problem with the executive orders is not what they do, but who they leave out. They leave out testing, tracing, treatment. We know we're not going to solve this problem economically until we solve the health problem. And the speaker's been like a lioness, I guess I should say, or a lion. Is lioness okay? Has been like a lioness in pursuing this at every meeting we have been at. And you're not going to cure that. You're not going to solve the problem. They still seem unwilling to do what is necessary for a strong testing, tracing, and treatment regime. What is one of the biggest problems facing us in the next month, as the speaker mentioned? Schools. Opening up the schools safely. If you don't open up the schools, you're going to hurt the economy significantly because lots of people can't go to work. Executive orders leave out schools altogether. State and local services. They came a tiny little bit in our direction on that, but very little. Not in the middle or close to it. You can't do that by
Thank you guys so much again for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there you go. You have a flip from the left on the school openings. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So with that said, I'm going to open this up if anybody's interested in actually if anybody's interested in speaking up, speaking out. I do believe that this can be done via mobile device. I'm not sure. I've never used it via mobile device, but you are invited if you would like to come up. I'd like to ask you, we'll keep it to 2 to 3 minutes. If you would like to make a comment on any of the items that you've seen, or of course our regular loop, that the question is, has America seen its last free and fair election? So you are welcome to come up, and I may bring up a couple of other stories, but this is I think this VP situation is going to it may dominate for a couple of days, but we still have so much violence and so many cultural things that are going on around us. Looks like we've got police chiefs that are walking away from their jobs. So it's just a really tough time. See that? No, I think it's the sheriff that's shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thank you guys so much. So we do have, let's see. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Crazy Chick Sheena says, like, we are in socialist Venezuela. Shout out to Unique View. Thank you so much for coming in. Let's see. I think we may play a couple of things. I may give you a couple of things on Harris. I mean, it's you're not going to be short on that, but why not? So let's get into a little bit of the her own, I guess, war on drugs, if you will, if you can stomach that. We'll take a little bit of that on. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Oh, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. More of the walking contradiction from Kamala Harris. So I'm sure you won't be short on examples of that throughout this cycle, because I do believe we are less than 90 days from this election. I'm not sure what you guys are doing, but it looks like some of these states are still insisting on this whole mail-in voter situation. I'm not sure. It looks like that's still going on in many places. Yeah, actually, I totally agree. I think she had much more to bring to the table, and she was definitely more moderate than Kamala. I mean, I think this is a message to the world that, Joe Biden's going to do whatever they want him to do. whatever Kamala wants to do is what's going to end up happening. So yeah. Shout out to Battery Addiction. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I like to do a shout out to the loyal patrons and the loyal subscribers. You guys, shout out to Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Angels Army, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, Let the Truth Be Told, Cold War Jesus, and AZ Infidel. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. And thank you guys for keeping an eye out for what's coming out. And I'm not saying that there won't be other things that are coming out, but I'm pretty sure, this season is just loaded. Shout out to Simply a Sweetheart. So, yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to politics, I think people should be, activate some thought. You have to put thought into things. It's not, I mean, even for a miscongeniality, I think people might struggle, picking Kamala Harris. So, I mean, it's at this point, I'm sure other people in that group of women, amongst that group of women, probably have some things to say about who they actually chose. I mean, you've got you'll end up, looks like the prosecutor in chief, and it's just not, I mean, even for strategy, I don't know how that came to pass, of course. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's definitely going to be interesting, but I'm not sure that people are going to just ignore. You can't ignore people's records and where they stand on policy. And when you do that, you get more of, you're in no man's land. So shout out to everybody that's in the stream. I mean, this is real life. I mean, people have dealt with Harris personally, whether she ended up prosecuting somebody in their family or whether somebody in their family was already doing time. If you're making license plates and you're getting, there's tons out there. Thank you so much, Bend Over. I'm trying to, I was trying to catch up with something that you posted earlier, but I have to find it. I think you made a recommendation or something, and I need to find out where that was. Okay, I think I see it. I see it now. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Thank you guys so much. Battery Addiction. Shout out to Battery Addiction. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to Simply a Sweetheart. Shout out to Bend Over. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Let's see. Shout out to the rapper 10,000. Shout out to Unique View. That brings me to another point. When we talk about race and we talk about, they did the same kind of thing came up during Obama's run or 08 situation. It always comes down to, and it's a sad thing to come down to, but let's do it anyway. I'll bring you yours truly. What's his name? Don Lemon. Let's see what Don Lemon has. Which Don Lemon has a lot of lemons, apparently. But I think he and April Ryan had an interesting conversation, which is what liberals do. It's like, I mean, who's black enough? Who's de facto black? Who gets to decide this and that? I mean, let's just do it for kicks. But then, all right. So with the panel, this is a year ago, of course. So I'll just bring you this coverage here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Not the most fun thing to deal with. I mean, dealing with skin color, dealing with backgrounds. If you're not qualified, it doesn't really matter. Or if you don't have, or if you've got a CD record, it doesn't really matter. But they want to chew on it, chew the fat. And, you know, they end up in the same place they started with their identity politics. They just eat each other alive. And then they end up nowhere. No substance. Nothing to support their argument. A bunch of word salads to chew on. That's what you get. It's really time to put that down. It's like a child. You put the toys away and go read something with a spine. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Let's see what Lemon thinks. And I mean, he actually believes all of his hype is the amazing thing. A lot of people believe him and all of his hype just because he said it.
Adam Sir, Scott Jennings, and April Ryan. By the way, Scott, you're a very good sport. That was funny as hell. I appreciate that. So, April, listen, the only Black woman in the 2020 campaign is fielding questions about race. And I just want to play for you what Kamala Harris said to the Breakfast Club when she was asked about how people on social media are questioning if she's African American.
Another meme says, Kamala Harris is not African-American. Her parents were immigrants from India and Jamaica, and she was raised in Canada, not the United States. And they said, fact. That's what the meme said.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
What do you make of her answer, April?
Good for her. There's a lot to unpack here. Number one, what does Black enough mean? Can someone give me a definition of what Black enough is? I don't want to go down the road of the stereotype when people say we're Black. Number one, she is a Black woman. She's a mixed race woman. When you see her Blackness, but she is also South Asian. Her mom is South Asian and her dad is Jamaican.
April, let me listen.
Yes.
More power to her. And I think it's great. That should be enough. Listen, it is enough that she's a Black woman.
We are not a monolith.
No.
Exactly. But they did the same thing.
No. I think you're not hearing what people are saying. The people who are saying is she Black enough, that's bull. That's BS. But to want a distinction to say is she African American or is she Black or is she whatever. There is nothing wrong with that. There is a difference between being African American and being Black. Latino people are people of color, but they're not Black. They're brown people.
She is a woman of color, but she is a Black woman.
Okay, that's why I agree with that. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There is a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling into the trap of that. All she had to do was say, "I am Black, but I'm not African American." That's it.
I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed
Jamaica's
be
not America.
African American mixed with other races. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a Black woman. She was born here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go into Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
Ted Cruz. This is not about Ted Cruz. You're changing the subject.
But you know what? We cannot. It was hypocrisy. I'm not changing the subject.
Yes, you are.
She's a Black woman. I don't know what you want.
Cruz.
Okay.
Can I just
It's
say something here? I think
hypocrisy.
there's two
It's
versions of this
hypocrisy.
question. I think there's two versions of this question. One is sort of based in racial stereotypes.
Right.
You know, does this person act the way I think Black people are supposed to act?
That's
But I
not
think
what
there's
I'm
another
saying.
version
That's
of this
not what I'm
question.
saying at all.
I know, I understand that. I think there's another.
saying.
I think there's another version of this question, which is, you know, does Kamala Harris care about Black people? And if Black people give her their votes when she is in office, is she going to still care and still make sure that use her authority to make sure that Black people get a fair shake in a country that has historically not given them one? Now, you can talk about, you know, there are cultural distinctions. There are cultural distinctions between West Indian immigrants and African Americans, but the fact is that, you know, in America, those distinctions start to matter less because of white racism. Latinos come from many different countries, but the experience of being Latino in the United States is a kind of consolidator. And I think
so I agree with
Kamala Harris she's actively worked to associate herself with African American culture, in particular by going to Howard and in other ways. So I think yes, it is not unfair to make the distinction between Jamaican and African American, but I do think that question, is she Black enough, is maybe not the right question for getting the information.
But I think that people lump that by saying that there is a distinction. There is a difference between being Puerto Rican and being Mexican and being Costa Rican.
Yes.
All of them are from Latin America, and that is all fine, well, and good. So what is wrong with asking someone who is of color, Black, are they African American, are they Jamaican, or whatever it is, but it's not
she
saying
is a Black woman in America.
We are saying that. No one is saying she's not Black.
Yeah.
Seriously, Don Lemon is absolutely obnoxious. I'm just thinking, he can't respect anybody else's input. And I'm sorry, he's the first lady of CNN, Don Lemon. It's a bit much. But thank you guys so much for entertaining that. I really appreciate it. But I just want you to see the liberals go at each other, the kind of things that they focus on, which is not going to, her background is not going to do anything about her experience or her credibility, right? How's that going to help? We're talking about one of the highest offices in the land. Yet you hear April Ryan talking about, let's go down into her lineage as if there's a stairwell. It's just as if going down into her lineage is going to cure the chaos. Let me go down into her lineage and come back with a lightsaber that'll take care of all of you. It's just so petty and so empty. That's where we are. That's what it means to be progressive and to be liberal. It's really sick. It's really sad. And Don Lemon is just the de facto aficionado on race relations. Can't watch that show. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Battery Addiction. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Simply a Sweetheart. Shout out to the rapper 10,000. Shout out to Ben Dover. Thank you guys so much. I know Chrysler Imperial H was here earlier. I'm not sure if you're still around. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Unique View. Let's see. Am I missing somebody else here? But yes, there's just so many serious issues going on in this country. And hi, Patrick Jane Forums. How are you doing? Thanks so much for coming in. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums, Killer Whale Channels, Theology Forums. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Crazy Chick Sheeta. She says, don't go too far down her lineage. You may find you take the stairwell down to her lineage. Come back with what? Chains? Ay. I can't make this stuff up. I really can't. Chrysler Imperials is lurking in the background. That's totally good. I really appreciate it. So yeah, we're probably gonna pack this one. We're gonna probably pack this one up and pack it in. I appreciate you guys for coming on during this this wonky election cycle, and we'll see what else is to come. You know, surely something else. I'm not sure what's happening with the executive order right now, other beyond Trump signing it. I do know that there are, what do we have? The powers that be on the floor right now. I do believe they are. Let's see. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams, for throwing that caution to the wind. And you guys, if you keep an eye out, there will be at least one video coming out later today. And let's see if I can't. I'm going to bring you guys. The actual coverage on just a little bit on what's happening. What's happening on the. Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hang on just 1 second. I appreciate your patience. Let's see. Are we still streaming here? So, yeah. So, of course, there's a bit of rallying going back and forth today over coronavirus stimulus delay. So, you know, the Democrats, if they can't get the pet projects and money in for things that have nothing to do with the crisis or the pandemic, then there's no deal, I guess. We'll see what happens. And Patrick Jane Form says Don Lemon lives in my city. He's a joke. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And let's see. Patrick Jane Form says I'm Irish and my ancestors were heavily discriminated against. Absolutely. I hear ya. Let's see. I'm gonna read some comments if you guys don't mind. Remember, do not get overconfident about the election and not bother to vote. We have too much at stake. Every member of the House is up for election. Yeah, that's a very good caution there. Proceed with caution. Shout out to Cold War Jesus. Oh, thank you so much, Patrick Jane Forms. Thank you so much. And by the way, this reminds me, I'm going to be rolling out there's going to be some additions, some enhancements to the actual program. It's actually going to be, I will roll that out, try to roll it out before the end of the week. But there will be some extras, some new things happening with the Patreon program. And actually, it'll be a new addition. It'll be a program within the program. So I'll tell you all about that. And of course, if you keep an eye out for videos coming out today. And Cold War Jesus, shout out to you. Thanks so much for all your support. Harris has gotten a long way on. I hear ya. And Crazy Chick Sheena says, I'm halfway Irish in my family. They were white and needed reparations then. I hear ya. Well, once we go down the reparations rabbit hole, it's a lot. I think we'll end up paying our own reparations. The rapper says, check out that Instagram video on how to persuade American people to take. Wow. Okay. I'll look for it. Let's see. As well as the presidential debates. Sorry, guys. If there's going to be any, they're both could be an interesting president and vice president debate. First debate in October. All right, guys. You guys have been fantastic in coming in and taking care with those channelytics. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks so much, Patrick Jean Forums, for sharing out the video. I really appreciate it. You guys get to know each other amongst each other. You guys are fantastic and taking care of things around here. I really appreciate it. And let's see. I don't know. I guess the question would be, what issues are important to you guys? I mean, what was there's a lot, but I'm saying if you had to pick 3, what would be the 3 issues that you're most concerned about? I mean, just right off, I think the vaccines, the Second Amendment and the vaccines. Because if we're not, the thing about it is, if they're pushing vaccines, then that's, to me, part of the reason we don't have a full scope or a full scale on the data. We hear the data, follow the science, okay, well, show it all then. Show us all the science. You have to show it all. I mean, the people that you have had people that have done their quarantines have walked away from this thing. So if there's an actual recovery rate and if it's above 90, why are you looking for a vaccine? And why did you suppress all the other measures? Why are we not? Why can't we? Why is there no peer review or there's no peer consortium that's being considered? I mean, Anthony Fauci. I mean, who is Anthony Fauci? All of a sudden we have a state doctor. One, we the people did not elect Anthony Fauci. We did not. I mean, we the people didn't, and unlike the UN and which is the parent of the WHO organization, we didn't transfer any power to a committee so that they could appoint Anthony Fauci. So where did he come from? If you have a problem today, would you call? I mean, who is he treating at the CDC? Who are they treating at the CDC? Have you ever gotten treatment at the CDC for anything? Shout out to everybody in the stream. Rappers and people to call out. Yeah, it's just way too seedy. There's just way too many players and too many unexplains here. Crazy Chick Sheena says, I'm sick of 2 things in all seriousness. Cold War Jesus is my top 3: immigration, Second Amendment, and economy. Ching, 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 ching. Thanks so much, Cold War Jesus. And the rapper says reopening the economy, the virus scare story. And Chrysler Imperial H says, that's my number 1 concern, all this mumbo jumbo about the vaccines. And the rapper says Fauci's a hack doctor who caused more deaths than saved them. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think he's America's, what's his name? Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, just like that, it's a bureaucrat. Oh, I'm a scientist. So, but what are you doing? I mean, I'm not a scientist either, but I'm like, are you treating anybody? I mean, you're just looking at data, but you're not actually treating anyone. This is not bizarre. I mean, what is enough? Enough is enough, right? That was that the Stella Emanuel's. That was her plea. This is ludicrous. I'm just saying, why? I mean, nobody wants to be a part of this social experiment anymore. Like, we're done. We're done with that. I mean, we should be. So, once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So please keep an eye out for a video or two that will be coming out today and some videos that will be coming out the rest of the week. If I foresee another live stream, I will put that out, including a moonlight stream. So that I'm not saying it won't happen today or tonight, but but I will schedule it out. So we are definitely at the 9 PST Monday, Wednesdays. I'm not sure. I may with the amount of news and the amount of things that are coming out, it's possible I'll throw in something else, but definitely those two. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. And also keep an eye out for things that are coming out. I will say that there's going to be the first item that's going to be rolling out will be the first merch item that will be rolling out. I think I'm going to put that on the community tab. So you can at least see what the prototype is. And, if you're interested, we'll see. I'll see how I can get that going for you guys. But there's going to be ways, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking care with the like button and the unlike button and the shares. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. So yes, there will be also for the Patreon. Keep an eye on the Patreon tab as well. There's going to be a new program rolling out for Patreon. And of course, there's some extra perks in there. And I will explain the whole 9 on that. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And also I did put another link in. Let me drop one more link for you. Because I know if you have any questions about contacting me, if it's not readily available to you, if you can't think of it, just click on my channel and just look in that right-hand corner. Look in that right-hand corner on the channel art. The channel art is, of course, where you have the title of the channel and the art surrounding it. Just in that right-hand corner is where you will find channel art things. Shout out to you guys. Thanks so much. Simply a Sweetheart. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday and keep your eyes open. And I'll see you guys later.